Religious texts are stories, they're narratives of a self-aware organism who is struggling with its own finitude. What is it possible to mean by God? Does it have to be something supernatural? Does it have to be a creator? I mean, can't those just be outdated modes of thinking? So notions of a creator God who's concerned about humans and who makes deals with people and intervenes and is a being of some sort, maybe all of those are just outdated. Maybe those are the wrong kinds of questions. Maybe different kinds of questions would be questions like, could consciousness have not been? Is there a spiritual significance in the fact that there not only is all that there is, whatever all this stuff is, but that part of what is aware of what is? And one of the ways that I've asked the question, particularly to Christian audiences, is if you suddenly discovered that there were no life after death, could you forgive God? That is, if Jesus himself were up walking around and Jesus were to announce that, there was a technicality, only virgin births could be resurrected, and that's why he was. But his Father, loves you. He wants you to know about his love, and what he wants to do is ask, can you forgive him, that there won't be any life after death for anyone else? We are of the universe. We're not simply in it. See, that's the problem. That your body isn't, quotes, yours, that what you're calling yours was always already the universe. That is, the universe has various forms of relating back to itself through appropriating parts of itself as if it weren't itself. I mean, we are the way the universe haunts itself as another. A body is a universe worlding. The universe worlds through bodying. What would it mean to say that the universe itself is intelligent, and that the intelligence that we have is symptomatic of that? I'm not trying to give a sort of mystic position like you're God or something like that. I don't know what we would mean by God. I certainly don't mean you're God in the sense of you are the cause and the source of the universe. No, I think you're a symptom and a manifestation of an orderliness and of a harmonious resonance that has somehow allowed various emergent forms of life, and life itself is the miracle. But I'm suggesting that there's a kind of multiple layers and levels of something like irritability, and then a kind of sentience and awareness, and then consciousness, and then or feelings, and then consciousness, and then self-reflexive consciousness. I'm not suggesting that as one layer comes on, the other layers disappear. It's not as if humans are only at this plane and having this thing called self-reflexive consciousness and all that other stuff they left behind. The hand signifies a kind of pre-thematized intelligibility in the world that isn't yet epistemic, but is grounded in disclosures that aren't properly, warranted truth claims, aren't symbolic representations like numbers, like abstract ideas about imaginary things. Aren't those part of what we use within this domain of space-time that's been opened up by our very complex, sophisticated kinds of nervous system? And isn't that a unique evolutionary accomplishment? To learn language is to learn to speak not only to others, but to oneself. And in that process, one is left both radically alone, and now aloneness is impossible. Some of the art that was created imagining that God was going to look at it, it didn't matter whether or not God looked at it. Somehow them believing God would look at it was the impetus to create the art, the music, that was that magnificent, that had to be that perfect. There are certain ways of understanding speech where you think of language and language practices as a transmitting of information. Somebody send something to someone else. And that's really what it's about. Whereas other people, they seem to understand that speech has a transformative capacity, that people can change in their values, their orientations, in their very self-understandings, and it changes who they are. You know, grieving over your own death is really kind of strange and odd. Grieving over the loss of another, I guess, makes sense. And, you know, the beauty is that no one can take those memories from you, and you can commemorate that other, you can remember that other, you can keep that other alive in spirit and deed by performing acts in the name of that person. I mean, that's one of the things that makes humanity so amazing, is the ability to act in reaction to someone who's no longer there, and have the no longer there-ness of the person be part of what we're reacting to.